Do this for the have-nots and the God willings. The have-nots and the God willings. The have-nots, yeah. Hey, yeah, I see my plans fail, some move successfully. I never waited for anyone to invest in me. My presence be a readily force of pure energy. A chosen few, a different hue, I'm from a different pedigree. Something deadly is something we sending enemies. Had their body at the bottom covered in.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for another episode of Nightmare on Sedgwick Avenue, the podcast, video podcast. This is season 2, episode 7. I have a really dope guest today. He goes by XP, the Marxman. He's an LA rapper, producer, who happens to be Mexican as well, so that's dope. And he's also a member of the Rhyme Addicts. He has a clothing line. He also is in the cannabis industry. He has the Salamander, I believe is what the name of the company is called. He's everywhere. So without further ado, I'm going to bring him on. And before we get into that real quick, I just wanted to introduce the track that I just played. It's off one of his latest projects that came out this year. I always butcher the name. I think Continua Sparare, I think is what it's called. With him and Rock Marciano did the production, I think, on the whole project, and the track is called The Have Not. So check that out. Without further ado, what's up, XP?
Hey, what up? How's everything going?
Good, good. Thank you again for coming on here. I know you've been going through a lot these last couple of days. We were just talking about it, but I appreciate your time to come on the podcast.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, it's crazy how the year played out. You know what I mean? It was already crazy enough in the beginning of the year, and then this last month just been fucking crazy. Losing
Yeah,
people.
yeah, man. But before we get into like the questions and everything, I want to kind of have you introduce yourself because some people that might be following me might not be following you or know who you are. So if you can just introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll go from there.
What up, y'all? It's XP the Marksman. I hail from the San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles hip hop. If you want to get down to it, been out here for over like, man, I don't even know how long. I feel like I'm aging with everybody. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they say I was a kid, but yeah, I've been in this hip hop scene for, I want to say, well over 15 years.
Well,
Opening up for
yeah.
everybody and anybody, and just this past, I want to say, a couple years, they've been a little bit more influenced musically. Um, Hold on one second. My
Sure.
dog's snoring in the background. Hold on.
Sure. No
Hey,
worries.
get over there. Snore over there. But, yeah, so just I think these past couple years, I've been able to release the content on my own, like on my own dime, my
Hmm.
own time, and I feel that the response has been major, and I'm appreciative of everything that's been happening, man. And I just, I've been out here.
Yeah.
Actually been to like SD too a few times to perform. Um, I know a lot of homies out there, from down south, SD hip hop, music scene, and yeah, I think you know, presence wise, I think this year 2021, I'm gonna try to just smash it, and then
Yeah.
hopefully, 2023 or something. Because man, I mean, you know how it is when you're trying to keep up. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Thank
still
you,
here.
man. Yeah, you've been doing it for a while, and it's funny that you talk about you've been to San Diego. So that's how I don't think I've ever told you the story because I think it's like the first time we're actually like talking. But so technically, so I was at a show that you were. It was actually my first like solo show I ever went to in San Diego. So I had gone to like Hip Hop Weds, Battle Bot, all that, but I had never gone to like a local show, like where there was like artists from San Diego and from other cities. So it was the Ethos show where you opened with Boo Boo, and it was at the Till Two Club, and that was like probably like my start in the hip hop scene. That like I pretty much got immersed into it because I was like, oh shit, this is so dope. Like it, like I fell in love with that. So I saw you open And I was like, shit, he's dope. Like Boo Boo's dope. You know, even like all the New York rappers like Etho, Jamaga Soul, Al Divino. Like it was like a really dope show that like impacted me. So for this episode, it was like episode 7. So I was like, I need to bring somebody that kind of like a full circle, you know, in my journey here in the hip hop scene. So I was like, who better than to have like XP the Marxman? So I just wanted to shout you out for that. That was a really dope show and kind of like got me into the hip hop scene. So you, like I said, you've been working a lot. Rock Marciano is like a big name. I consider him like mainstream slash underground. He's still the like in both worlds. How did you connect with these people? Like I know obviously you've been doing this for 15 years, but how did that happen? Like with you like getting into like the East Coast, you know, and all that.
Well, I think early on, a big twin from the infamous mob,
Mhm.
he pretty much moved out here, maybe like over 10 years ago, I would say. And I mean, we've always been heavily influenced, by East Coast hip hop. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm born and raised on the West Coast. I'm Mexican. So a lot of stereotype stuff would happen to us early on. Where we would
Mhm.
hop up on the stage and like, you know, they expected us to, spit that like, that Latino hip hop shit, which is, it's
Yeah.
cool. I felt that we gravitated towards the essence of hip hop, like the true art form.
Yeah.
Skill is like, the number one thing ahead of swag or all that stuff. So we just, we really thrived on the aspect of trying to get our bar game up, and just the way we structured our rhymes, and the way we did that was, we were being influenced by Wu Tang, and a lot of like those East Coast, those heavy East Coast artists that were just prevalent during like the early '90s,
Yeah.
uh, late '90s, and early 2000s. You know what I mean? Growing up in that, I've always wanted to transpire that energy
Mhm.
when it came to the music. So I guess naturally it just gravitated us towards the East Coast artists, because obviously, um, you got like, Project Blowed, and you got groups like the Visionaries and stuff. Like, we had mad respect for that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? We were influenced by that too. But ultimately, you know what I mean? I think the East Coast was the underground at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm only saying that only because of the skill and the projection of the music. You also had artists that were here on the West Coast that were on that level too, like, Dilated, even a Psycho Realm. Like, it was Latino
Mhm.
hip hop. These guys were like lyrical, and I think,
Exactly.
you leading with, that in my rhymes, you know, Joseph, close the door. Um, Leading with that in my rhymes led me to like these areas where, there
Yeah.
would be like or whatever. But he was the one that really seen us early on when we barely began,
Yeah.
and he pretty much was like, yo, like, you guys are ill, I want to rock with y'all. So after linking with him and doing tracks with him for over like 8 years, and all that stuff, he would take me to shows, and I'd be backstage with, Alchemist, and
Mhm.
certain stuff, and it was just always around. But I never was like hanging off with fools is like, like, hey man, I rap too. I kind of just, play my position.
Yeah.
And meeting Rock Marciano, that was a thing where, I'm meeting my favorite rapper and shit. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and at that time, me and the homie Ice Rocks, we had an album that we were working on, which is the Nomads album,
Mhm.
4 years, because I had met him in Amsterdam,
Okay.
and this was like 4 years ago, prior to us even trying to make music. And then he came out to LA. I got him some shows, and we worked on, I think, one track. And then that one track, it kind of just led to like he would come back and we do two more, and then I
Mhm.
went over like a couple more, and then we kind of just said, hey, like, we have we got some shit. So during that process, there was this one track, which is the track that I got
Mhm.
Rock on, and before he was even confirmed anything, like
Mhm.
I just like I'm gonna get it because I have to close off the album, and that was one
Yeah.
of like the last tracks, you know what I mean, to close it off.
Yeah.
And I just happened to go to a show with Twin, and I met him backstage, and he just happened to be moving out here to LA, so I figured, I tap in with him, and so I went over there to chop it up about, some other type of business. It didn't have to do with, music. It was more of a thing of, you know, trying to get like something started for him.
Mhm.
And I wasn't even the rapper like at that time, you know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
just like, you know, having a meeting, a business meeting.
Mhm.
And after that, he's like, what else you got going? And I was like, man, I got the project with Ice Rocks, and he knows Ice Rocks, so I kind of left it in Ice Rocks' hands to like reach out to him, you know what I mean, and
Mhm.
see about getting him on the project. But I was prepared, you know what I mean. I went in there with, the bread. I had the song ready, and it was really dope because the song I gave him, he told me that, I made his job easy, you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
when you hear this shit, it's like, okay, so I hit the nail on the head, boom, and a lot of artists, I'm sure, they're not gonna take the bread and then hear the song and shit
Mhm.
like that. I mean, you know, I just I just kind of had the energy that it was gonna happen, and I just went in there with that, kind of mind state, and I shot my shot, and I was able to get him. You know what I mean? And then I got booked for the show in San Diego, so I was like, "Fuck it, we're gonna be in the same spot. I'm gonna shoot the video over there." So I was able to
Yeah.
get the video in, before the show we did, and everything just like, you know,
Like fell
it
into
was.
place. Yeah.
And, he's a hardworking dude. Um, is the illest in my book, you know what I mean? And I just feel blessed, man, to be able to build with him and, build with the God and rhyme all over the landscapes that he provides, the soundscapes. So,
Yeah.
um,
And would you say like he's like one of your, obviously because you said he's like your your number one like rapper and stuff like that. Would he be like your favorite like collab, or do you have anybody else? Because you've collab with like Hus, Kingpin, Terminology, like to name a few. Like who would be your favorite?
terminology is ill too. Like, I grew up listening to him too,
Yeah.
and I call him my dude, I got a relationship with him. He's a really good dude. And meeting these people, it's hard sometimes to like, not be the fan, because I'm
Mhm.
always a before I am, an artist and shit. And a lot of the times, you know what I mean. The fan will come out, and you really gotta just, you gotta know that, kind of like that borderline of,
Yeah.
and hey, like, I'm doing this shit too. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the times, I've released albums maybe like 8 years ago and got like
Mhm.
20 shares, and like a lot of artists, I think they didn't really have to like live through that era because they were rhyming or they had careers already established prior
Mhm.
to like social media, YouTube, and doing all that, which is like the criteria that we need now,
Yeah.
for people. Before then, you could just spit, a dope ass fucking, 16 on a Mob Deep record, and fucking you'll have hella fans.
That's true.
Now, a little different now. So I think, with that, um, that mind state of like, I do this too. I'm a rapper too. I think, we need to feed ourselves that because, the fan shit, like, you know, there's a borderline and shit. So, and I love the fans too, and things like that. But there's a certain point, I'm sure, for a lot of these artists where they're not really trying to fuck with that shit. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you just gotta know how to play your cards right, and shoot your shots when and the worst they could say is, nah, I don't want to do that, or
Exactly.
it's like, you know once in a while you just really gotta shoot that shot, and when you shoot that shot, you gotta be prepared. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
you got, you know already on point. So that's pretty much how that happened. Just meeting people and shooting those shots when I needed to shoot them.
Yeah,
And
when the time was right.
yeah, also just having the skill level too. To
Mm-hmm.
be on a track with these dudes and trust myself, trust my skill level, and trust everything. The hip hop gods to just hop on this shit
Yeah.
and best. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people like that song. You know what I mean? The video's ill.
Yeah.
Shout out to that made that video happen because it took a lot of people to come together to make that video and it's
Yeah,
one
it's a
hell of
dope video. Yeah.
yeah. That's that's how I did it. I mean, I just was in the right place at the right time, and I made the right investment, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what it really is. You make investments in other people to like invest in yourself. But you ultimately have to you got to carry that and work it.
Exactly. And you like also been working a lot too. Like I said, 2020's been good for you. So like if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you dropped 4 projects. I was like looking at your Instagram, so it's like Sincere Leader 2, Part 2, Big Mijo Shit Only, Continuas Parare, and the Stolen Switzerland tapes. Right? Is the 4 projects you put out this year, and then you have one coming up, the Make the Devil Pray. Right?
Yeah. You know what? I totally forgot that I released. I thought that was last year. See,
Yeah.
I'm and it's crazy because like I'm hey, pull it up. I'm already like working on stuff for like 2021. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's definitely been a big year. One of those blurs, like one of those 2020's been a blur year. Sometimes I forget like what I dropped too. But yeah, you've dropped 4 projects. I think the first one was like Sincere Leader, I believe, or Big
yeah,
Mijo. I don't know, one of those two.
yeah. I actually got to go on my timeline too and
Yeah.
see because I'm constantly working. But I think you got it right. I think that's it. You know what I mean? But yeah. Like this last one is like a culmination of just tracks that I did throughout the year, but also shit that I kind of just pieced it together, and then the cover came about, and a lot of the music
Hmm.
that um I'm trying to put out now after this year is I already got a couple projects lined up with a couple cats that I think
Yeah.
people get be surprised at and shit. So
Hmm.
hopefully this next year is as good to me as 2020 was. I
Yeah.
mean, it's it's like a fucking how would you say, like a triple beam, like kind of scale thing, because you're like
Yeah.
it's like the music is doing good and all this stuff, but like on a personal level, like people are dying, and it's fucking
Yeah.
people are like losing their jobs and shit. So it's like you gotta take the good with the bad sometimes, and just you know
Exactly.
be blessed. That's that's about it.
Uh, um, for your new project that's coming out, the Make the Devil Pray, because you said you're gonna drop it for sure before the year ends. Is there any like big names that you can drop of like any features, or you want to keep that under
Well,
wraps?
there's only one feature on there, which is the homie Malcolm Seth from New Jersey,
Okay.
and he produced the beat and he jumped on it. So that's the only feature I have. And then I got one more Rock Marciano production on there.
Okay.
And
Dope.
but like as far as like big names, that's about it. Just Rock
Yeah.
on some production. But other than that, it's all me.
That's dope.
I
That's
got
nice.
some really dope beats in, so I
Uh-huh.
just been trying to work with artists that I've been working with throughout my whole career, and
Hmm.
then different fools that I met throughout these past couple years and
Yeah.
shit like that. So
Okay. And
but yeah,
how do you stay inspired, especially right now, like you said, with everything, with the pandemic, and then obviously you mentioned you've been vocal about it that you lost like a really really close friend. How do you like stay inspired, like because you put out 5 projects now with the last one you're gonna drop?
you know what one thing that helps me is that I have a home studio, so I can whenever I have a thought
Hmm.
or I have a hook, or just whenever I want to create, I can just almost like on the fly, just have something. And I kind of have a cool little system happening where like I do the raw vocals here, and then I send them off to be mixed and mastered, and then I got the guy that does my covers, and then he does all my
Okay.
IG channel. I got
Yeah.
another brother that helps me upload the shit to like all the DSPs and stuff. Because honestly, like I don't really do a lot of that shit myself, only
Okay.
because like I'm so busy, like focused on trying to create that all that other
Mhm.
shit. I feel once you have a trusted, team locked in with you, you could
Mhm.
actually move with them and have certain individuals have, certain roles that they play
Yeah, that's smart.
within the push. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and a lot of my brothers too, like, they rap, they make, beats and stuff. So not only are they helping me, but they have their own shit that they're trying to do too as well. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I just, I feel blessed that, I got, individuals that know this shit, and they know
Mhm.
how to, they know how to do websites, and
Mhm.
the graphic designing. You know, one of my dudes that I known for over like, I want to say like 15 years now. I want to
Mhm.
say, he owns a shirt press business, so I go to him,
Okay.
to do certain like merchandise
Merch.
runs and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So yeah, so just I try to keep everything um in the family and shit, and so I can focus on the creation of stuff. So I think that's what inspires me, is to be able to create at will, but also be able to execute at the end, because um I've been there at times where I have all this music in my computer, but I
Yeah.
don't know how, or like I don't know where to start. It's like overwhelming. But I think after you do it enough, it kind of just becomes like, second nature. Like, all right, I got all the roughs. All right, cool. Well, am I liking this? Nah. So you're kind of like you're doing everything from like executive, production, whether
Yeah.
you're not, making the beat, but you're kind of like overseeing, like, should
Mhm.
this be on this project, or should you hold off on this? So you kind of just do it by ear.
Mhm.
And just I think the more you create, the more you have to work with. So I think if you could just constantly write raps and lay shit down, have tracks, and it just in the stockpile, I think the
Mhm.
better you'll be as an artist, because
Yeah.
and a lot of the stuff too, I learned that it's probably old to me, but it's new to them. And I think as artists,
That's
we
true.
could get caught up in that type of shit too. Like, oh well, this shit sounds cool, but I dropped it like, 6 years ago, and did this, like, well, that's cool, but did you drop it the right way? Did you
That's
release it
true.
on this, that,
Mhm.
So I think rethinking that too. If you're an artist, you can always go back to your older work and be inspired as well too, because I think the younger you are, and you have like recordings of you can hear
Mhm.
that shit, and you can hear the hunger and the
Oh, the growth. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean, and it's inspiring, to hear that, because you're just like, wow, like I came far, I came a long way
Mhm.
from how I used to sound, or my thought process, what I was going through in life. I'm in a better place now, and I could focus on more deep, like conceptions, and different things, that
Yeah.
that you can do to get inspired, and also too, what I find out is when you listen to anything, you get influenced by it. So what I try to do is not listen to too much of like hip hop that is in my lane, or like, I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
fan of it, like I said, but I try not to be totally influenced and inspired
Yeah.
by
And I was gonna
it.
ask you about that too. Like, you listen to other genres though too? Like,
Oh
as like
yeah,
as a songwriter, you gotta get influenced by different things.
I think I listen to like more of other music than I do actual hip hop. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that's what helps me bring, like the concepts in from other songs. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I get
What would be like
inspired.
your other favorite genres that you would
Um,
say?
truthfully, I could listen to like classic rock. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that shit, like from Tom Petty, the Pink Floyd, to the
Yeah,
Doors, to like classic rock shit is like what I
that's dope.
really, yeah, because it puts me in the like it puts me in the seat of like an adventurer, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
The guitars and the whatever,
Yeah.
it just has that old rustic, you know, like feel to it. And then
Mhm.
the stories that they're putting behind it are real deep. And I think a lot of the times hip hop doesn't really have that. It kind of like lacks that, at times. So
Mhm.
being able to, you know, bring that through into hip hop, I think that is what keeps me, motivated, like on my off times. And like I
Yeah.
said, like when I'm out and about, I'm listening to Benny the Butcher, I'm listening to
Yeah.
rock, I'm listening to Dilated, like, I mean, it all depends on my day, and
Mhm.
how I feel too. Like I'll go back to Tupac or some shit and
Yeah.
I'll listen to that all day, and because I'm just
Mhm.
like in that mind state, you know what I mean? Or so yeah, so I guess what really helps me in the future is always going back.
Mhm.
But as an artist, like I said, I don't like to I don't like to sit in the past and dwell on that. But I
Mhm.
pull a lot of like the feelings and the thoughts from the past into the present, and
Yeah.
try not to, like I said, because it's either something that I really went through, I
Mhm.
know somebody who went through it, or I'm going through it, or somebody else is going through it. So I just really try to pull that into the music, you know what I mean? And if I have to go back on you know a childhood memory that other people can relate to,
Yeah.
as much as it's traumatic, to myself, I know other people can relate to it. And I guess that's a healing in itself, because there's other people that can hear like, damn, like that should happen to me too. Like, fuck, like,
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's a healing process, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm I like when, people say, oh, I got writer's block and all this shit. Like, I don't believe in that. So I think if you don't believe in some shit, it can't harm you, or it can't,
Yeah. Affect you. Yeah.
you so
That's
that's all
dope.
that
Yeah, that's cool. Like I said, because like I said, a lot of people don't have that gift. I think to, like you said, it's not like a writer's block, but I guess they don't have the gift to, like, keep being inspired and writing. So people take a while to write. So that's pretty
yeah, yeah.
dope that you're able to still keep creating. And then um, kind of like the latter part of the interview, I usually kind of switch it up a little bit because it is like a hip hop mixed with a horror podcast. So I always like to ask, what's your favorite like scary movie, and if you have one, and why?
Well, I'm a zombie guy. Like, I like
Yeah.
zombie, like straight up. Like, that's always been my genre. Like, I remember as a kid, like living in like an apartment, but on like the third level,
Uh
and
huh.
I was like watching that shit, and I was like so scared that these things were gonna come up from the ground, but I was like, it didn't hit me like, fool, you're like three fucking stories from the sky, dog. How are they gonna
Yeah.
get you from underneath this floor? It was like, you know what I mean? So as a kid, I guess I was really just like, just reanimating yourself. Like, you died but came
Yeah.
back, and now you're just like, I guess a lot of the genres, they took a twist here and there. The
Yeah.
Walking Dead was cool. I guess it kind of just faded. I kind of lost interest in it, but I,
Yeah.
I, I like real zombie shit. Like,
Like
not
the
like,
George A. Romero shit, like, Day of
yeah,
the Dead.
like
Yeah.
chilling in a cemetery and some fool just, he fucking comes out of the floor because of like a meteorite has some shit on, like just like a real nice, like, believable story that you
Yeah.
can like, oh shit. And then, like, even like, honestly, I feel like in the future, like if I'm ever, up there and I got a nice amount of cash, I think
Hmm.
I might do my own zombie movie, but like from like an urban feel, like from
That'd be
Us,
dope. Yeah.
because a lot of that shit, it takes place in like the woods, like fools are living in the woods, or like they're living in some off the grid
Yeah.
town.
Or
Like,
suburban
what?
area.
Yeah, yeah, like what about the urban, like, the fools in the streets that are taking the bus at 6 a.m., to go to,
That's
to
true.
school and shit, like stuff like that, like little, how would you do it, But I
Yeah.
think,
Maybe it could be like, you gave me an idea. Maybe it could be like, like a drug on the street and it turns people into zombies or some
oh,
shit, right?
yeah, or like even like the COVID shit, like, there's like,
Yeah.
like a virus that just happened to turn fools into you know crazy motherfuckers. But yeah, just when it comes to that, for sure, I think I'm a zombie dude for sure. You know, I'm a fan of old school shit that wasn't even out though. Like I don't know if you heard this one movie called Street Trash.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it, but I've seen like the cover and everything. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, like I remember we had the tape as a kid, and it was like this off-brand horror shit. Like, and I remember just like watching this. I'm like, this shit's so sick, but it's like no wonder why it wasn't on the movies because it's like it's pretty gruesome and horrific, and like like
yeah,
there's some scenes in there where like yeah, if like I was a kid watching this shit, damn, like that shit is wild. Those 80s movies were like wild though, like
yeah. They stick to you.
yeah. So, but yeah, I was a fan of Street Trash. What was the other one?
What about like Chud? Remember Chud?
Yeah. You know what? I remember hearing about. I remember I watched that with my older cousins, and we were on some like Halloween shit. So that night we watched that shit and the Basket Case, and
Oh yeah,
then
that's just weird.
we were watching those shits, and then we used to watch like Critters and like shit like
Uh
that too. Like real, what I mean? What's the other one? Tremors and shit like that. Like
huh.
so, a lot of those old school movies that you know they kind of just stuck in your head, and
Yeah.
but yeah, like I'm definitely Halloween and shit. This year I did a little like haunted house here and shit for the kids, but like
That's
next year I'm
cool.
about to go crazy. Like I'm
Let
about
me
to
know. Let me know. I'll
inspire.
go visit over there.
Yeah, that shit inspired me. Like me, me and my girl went crazy over here. Like we did like all kinds of shit. Like it was pretty cool, and I just got inspired for next year for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep that shit up all crazy.
Yeah, I see people go crazy. Like there's kind of like a nicer area like in North Park where I live, and these people when it was like the American Horror Story, I think like the one with the clown, I forgot, Twisty the Clown. They did like a whole like theme on it, and it was cool. They had like guys dressed as Twisty the Clown. I was like, that shit's dope. So that would be cool. Um, who's like one of your favorite like horror villains? Do you have any?
Horror villains, man. If I would have to say anybody, it would be like like maybe a Jason. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? He just like I said, like you could run 2 miles away from that fool, and then he's gonna pop up right next to you, and he just
he's still there.
same pace. You know what I mean? And then
And then I kind of like ask you like random questions, but how if you were like to make a horror movie, right? What would be like a rule, like a survival rule that you would create for like a
oh,
horror movie?
crazy. Like a survival role, like maybe you know, a person that's like locked in the closet, trying to
Hmm.
be super like quiet, knowing that like he's out there and shit, and you just happen to fart, and I feel just like, damn, damn,
I
you got
I
me,
always hate how they like hide in there for a while and then they get out. It's like just stay in the fucking closet, man.
like chilling there, or like like hella breathing hard, like oh my god, I was like, come on, you're gonna hear that shit. So just yeah, I think just to bring a little bit of like a comedic sense, like
Some
you're trying to
humor.
be. Yeah.
uh, do you believe in like the supernatural or anything like that? Have you ever had any like supernatural experiences? I've had a couple people that have had some
You
on
know
here on
what?
the show.
I can't say because I was a kid when it happened to me. As far as like a ghost shit
Hmm.
happens, I was at my cousin's house, and I guess I woke up maybe at 3. I was hella young. This is what they said, but I kind of like remember it. But I
Hmm.
remember like out of the window and seeing like like a person floating almost. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Oh
out.
wow.
I remember like just screaming at, and they came in, and my dad and everybody, what the fuck,
Hmm.
shit. And later on, they said that it was haunted, like this, like somebody died in there or something. So they
Yeah.
were kind of like, yeah, maybe you seen him, and I was kind of like, fuck, that's pretty scary, like shit. But you know, they moved out of there a couple years later, so I never was around that. But
Yeah.
recently, recently, this is probably like 2 years ago,
Hmm.
I was upstate New York with two other friends of mine,
Hmm.
and saw a UFO, like something that I can honestly say that
What the fuck?
I was looking at it,
Yeah.
and I had a question, like Like, what is that? Because anything, any other time, like you look in the sky, you see a shooting star, meteor, kind of like,
Mhm.
oh yeah. This was something that I caught on film, and
Mhm.
we were looking at it for maybe like a half hour to like 45 minutes. It literally went completely like it went dark at one point, and we're like upstate, and like there's like nothing but trees, and like
Mhm.
it's pitch black. There's
Yeah.
no lights out there but the ones on your front porch and shit.
Mhm.
So we're looking out, and it kind of like turned off and shit. But when it turned off, it snatched a little bit of light that was like, it was so weird. It was like, you could see it, and it
Yeah.
snatched. It really went dark. Like when that shit left, and I was like, what the fuck was that? So we're looking at,
What? Yeah.
yeah, like it was wild. I actually have it on my camera and shit, and we actually looked it up, and there's a few other videos of
Mhm.
the same shit that we seen, and
Oh wow. How did it look like? Was it like a kind of like a ship type
uh,
of thing looking or what?
but it kept moving like left to right, left to right, up and down, like it wouldn't stay still. It was like weird. It was like moving around, and then it snatched the light out of the sky. It went
Mhm.
black, and opened up again, and then it came back like orange and like a different type of color. It was
Yeah.
weird. It was what I mean. It was like the most oddest thing I've ever seen.
So it's
I can't,
like a orb of light or something like that, right?
and I have pictures. I have pictures that like kind of like zoomed in on it, and
Mhm.
like it looks pretty wild. Like you can kind of like, I mean, I'm not gonna say it, but like you can kind of see like it's a craft, and like you can probably kind of see like individuals in there and shit like that, and like
It's
it's
just
it's
crazy.
it's pretty
Yeah.
fucking. And I don't really speak on that shit like that, but
Mhm.
ask me like that's one thing while on this earth where I had like a paranormal like experience where I was kind of
Experience.
like as an adult looking at something and saying, "What the fuck is that?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I had like something like similar. I mean, it wasn't like a UFO, but mine was like I believe in like dwarves, like duendes. Um, I haven't really told this story, but I'll tell it now because it kind of reminded me a little bit. Like you said, like I've never had. That's like the closest thing I've ever had to like a supernatural or whatever paranormal, whatever you call it, because they're considered like mythical creatures, right? So it was like at sixth grade camp here in San Diego. We go to like sixth grade camp. Like I think it's Camp Palomar, right? So we're like hiking one of the mornings and it's like sunny and everything, and across the way there's like a log on the ground, right? And you can see like shadows, right? So I look across the way, and on the log you can see like this little thing like running, right? And I'm like, what the fuck is that? So I look around because we were like 11 years old, right? So we were kind of short kids, but this thing was shorter than us. And I was like, what the heck is it? So I tell my friends like, hey, do you guys see that thing running across the way? So I only saw the shadow of whatever it was, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it is." And that kind of like left like a mark in me. I was like, "Yeah, I kind of believe in these little creatures." Like, I don't know if it was like a dwarf or whatever the fuck it was, but it was not one of us. So I was like, that shit was crazy.
Yeah. And this was where out here?
Yeah, out in San Diego. So it's like Palomar. I don't know exactly where that is. I think it's like south, I want to say. I can't
Yeah.
remember. But it's like in the middle of the woods too. So that shit was crazy. So ever since then, I do believe in those little things. Like I went to Mexico like 3 years ago, and they have this museum in this like little town. That's called like the Duende Museum or whatever. And that was freaking dope. They told like stories about it, and then everybody told like stories of who have seen it, because
Oh,
the
shit.
legend, yeah, the legend goes that kids are the ones that could see them. So it makes sense why I saw them, because I was a kid when I saw the thing. So they say that only kids can see them. But there was one guy who was actually like driving us around, like a kind of like our Uber driver type of thing. He
Yeah.
he told the story too, and he said that he was sleeping one night and he felt something on top of him, and it was like this little like duende or like dwarf on top of him, and he grabbed him, right? And he tells him like, what the hell, like. And then the little duende told him like, oh, I'll give you money if you like let me go. And he's like, I don't want your money or anything, like just like leave the house. So I guess people have had like experiences with these things. It's kind of creepy.
Damn, that shit's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
So
How
yeah,
does
and I've
that shit look? Like, is
go
it
ahead.
how does that shit look though? Does it have like claws, or does it have anything that's like
So I just saw the shadow, so I didn't even see the actual thing. But the guy, he said, yeah, it looked like a little person with like little clothing and everything. And then one of my coworkers too, she said that one of her friends who lived in TJ. They had like really like a lot of, because I guess they say that they're mythical creatures and that they are either feed off of negative or positive energy, right? So there's mean dwarfs and then there's good ones, right? So I guess at their household there was a lot of like arguments happening, like the husband and wife kept fighting, all this stuff out of nowhere. And one day I think like the my coworker's friend saw this like little green thing. They said that it looked really ugly though. It was like really ugly, had like a pointy nose and stuff. And it was like scaly, like green, I think she said, and it was like really tiny. And she saw it like run across like the hallway, and I think she told somebody. You know how Mexican people like tell like go to like like La Botanica or whatever. So they found out somehow, and they were like, oh yeah, you gotta clean the house, like cleanse the house. And I think they cleansed it or somehow, or they might have brought like some sort of like religious thing to like clean it out. And it's supposed to be left, and ever since he left, or that he or she left, it was back to like normal energy, like it wasn't like negative anymore, like no negativity in the house. So that shit was crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of that shit is true. I mean, I can say for real that I seen something as an adult where I was like, whoa, this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that impacts you for sure. So man, who knows? Like that's the thing I was gonna say for like 2020 that was gonna happen. Like aliens were gonna like show up out of nowhere because we got the murder hornets. What was it? We got everything, and that was the only thing that was left. So who knows? We still have a few days left. Yeah. And what's like your greatest fear? Like, do you think you'll ever overcome it?
Um, I think my greatest fear, uh, I think I have overcome it, but I'm haunted by it a
Mhm.
lot of the and I think that would be like, just being a failure, like, not pursuing your dreams and
Mhm.
not making this shit come to fruition. And why I mean that is just being able, to be happy while I do it, and
Yeah.
make sure my family's, well taken care of, and I'm able to just do what I love, without having the hardships that I endured, while growing up, which is, when you're broke, you're poor, hunger, just a lot of things, that lead up to who you are in the future. And a lot of, those fears, I guess,
Yeah.
are kind of like in the past, because I mean, I'm obviously in the mind state. I'm free. I got my health. I'm not
Yeah.
stressed over worldly shit. So I'm like, I'm blessed. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think, you know, my worst fear is just not doing what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
something, was, to happen to me, or some shit like where I'm not able to, to rap or shit like that. I think, that's like my worst fear. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, man, very inspiring. And kind of to flip it, what has been your like, greatest accomplishment as a creative?
just doing what I said I was gonna do,
Yeah.
and that's rap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy because I remember like I'd be in school, like high school, like writing raps, and I still have homies that I had in class during high school, and like they're like, "Fool, you did it, dog!" Like I remember your ass was in class, fool, and you told me that you were gonna be a rapper, fool. And I was like, I mean, homie, I can't really say too much anymore. I rather just show you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At this point, and I feel like keeping that alive of like knowing that you're always going to become something, and like you fight for the dream no matter
Mhm.
what comes at you. I think you know that's that's it. You know what I mean? Is not giving up on yourself and proving to yourself. And when you prove to yourself, you prove to everybody else that
That's
you
true.
can do this. You know,
Exactly.
who
And
gives a shit what anybody says out there? Because at
it
the end of the day, you're the one that
it's
has
just
to
you.
do it.
Yep,
Yep.
it's you, right? Yep. At the end of the day, it's just you. And what are two things that people might not know about you that you would like to share?
Um, shit. I mean, I know I talk a lot of that, that street shit, on the records, but you meet me, I'm a cool, humble cat, that, I came from a lot of that shit, and I think what I would want to let the listener know is that, I'm a father, I'm a son, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And I just wanna I just want to do my best, while I'm here. So if they can, understand that fact with the music, don't get it twisted like
Mm-hmm.
I'm out here some idiot shit. But I will protect mine, and I will protect my people, and I love my family and shit like that. So
Yeah,
try not to get you know the shit too twisted out here, because a lot of these fools ain't even on that shit. I'm gonna tell you straight up
that's
like
true.
that. So just know who you're fucking with and shit like that. And um, another thing about me is I like salamanders a lot. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they're super cool. Like I don't know what it was since I was like a kid. I just I like the word.
yeah,
You Um, I like the variation of species, and then one thing I also like is how it regenerates itself. Like if it gets
yeah,
injured, or arm was to get chopped off or something, like it could grow it back. And I feel like I apply that to my life. So if I take a hit or whatever, if
yeah,
something bad happens, like you can always regenerate it and bounce back. So I feel like salamanders have that whole aura of like you can bounce back, and you don't got to
yeah,
be crazy big strong or whatever, but just to survive and chill and live your life cool, like you could be a salamander. Those fools just kick back and just chill. And if
yeah,
you fuck with them, some of them are poisonous, so you might get fucked up too. So it's like they're just well rounded, like animals, and super versatile. They can go in water and on land. So
yeah. That's
yeah.
dope.
So
Um,
shut up.
and what would you say, like some words of encouragement or like advice that you can give someone like getting into like the hip hop scene or just in general, like following your dreams, because you talk a lot about that.
Yeah. I would just say keep going. Believe in yourself, invest in yourself, invest in your craft, and you know there's gonna be those times where you feel like no one's paying attention and listening and stuff, but that doesn't really matter when you're getting that true support. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Organic support. So um, yeah, like just believe in yourself. To invest in yourself, and invest in your skill. Like learn the history of you're what you're trying to do. Like
Yeah,
I don't think a lot of these hip hop artists, younger hip hop artists, know the history of this shit. You know what I
that's
mean?
true.
So do your research, do some history on the craft that you say you love, and and don't stop. Just every day elevate, every day get better.
Yep.
And every day try to create something. Like whether it's a beat, whether it's art, whether it doesn't have to be just hip hop. Like you can do other shit too. Clothing and other stuff like that.
Yeah.
You like photography, or just always create. Don't limit yourself.
Exactly. That's good. Good advice. Great advice. And the last question I always like to end the interview with is, what kind of legacy would you like to leave behind, either on a personal or a creative level?
Um, I just want people to know that when it came to this hip hop shit, there was a lot of stories that were being told in a certain type of art form,
Hmm.
but that type of art form transcended to different areas, and different stories needed to be told. And I feel like since I do rap like I'm East Coast or whatever, or whatever, I think utilizing that aspect in my music is going to be my legacy ultimately, because
Yeah.
not a lot of people could do what I do, and I can't do what a lot of other people do either. And I think, you know, to set a legacy, you got to do something that others
Haven't
can't
done.
really,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, set yourself apart and constantly work at those things that are going to set you apart, because anybody could rap, anybody could do this, that, whatever, but it's all about what makes you you, and leaving a legacy
Hmm.
is what's going to make you you. So try to steer away from the norm, and
Hmm.
do whatever you know. If you have to sing, sing. If you have to harmonize, and you don't know notes, just you know, you'll do you until everybody, you know, they start gravitating towards it and like, all right, this fool, you know, he's doing
Yeah,
his own shit. He's making his own waves, you know, or
exactly.
she is making her own. Like, you know, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Like, just you know, leave a legacy here. Ultimately, would be is that that fool could hit that Mexican motherfucker could rap.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Well, you're doing that shit. So, man,
Thank you.
thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I
Appreciate
appreciate
you.
you. Yeah, for sure. Anytime. Peace out, everybody out there. The new shit drops on the 29th of this month, December 2020.
Okay.
Um, and the homie Hefty Lokes album, Rest in Peace.
Rest in
We
peace.
just reissued that out. That's on all DSPs called Architect Music. You can get that anywhere now. So yeah, just you know keep an eye out because all next year, like I said, I'm gonna just keep doing what I do and
Yeah,
hopefully you know we can rock some shows and you know I can
yeah,
see you in the flesh and shit because man,
for
this shit's been
sure.
crazy. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure. We got to do something for sure. Um,
definitely.
and yeah, and even I'm down to collaborate too, man. If I I've been trying to perfect the craft, so I'm trying to get up there with the skills so I
That's
can
it.
be, you know.
You know, and that's what it takes. You know, is you know the constant work ethic that you're gonna apply to yourself that is gonna lead you in the rooms with these artists to create with them. And like I said, it's just you're preparing yourself for like those moments. You know what I mean? So you know,
Yeah.
just keep doing what you're doing. I see you doing it. You're doing
Thank
your
you.
thing.
Thank you,
Sure.
man. Well, thank you so much again. I'm gonna put it on the screen here. But again, thank you for being on here. And I'm gonna put "Make the Devil Pray" here. Everybody, it's coming out like he said in the next couple of days or so. So tune in. Follow him again. Is it's XP the Marxman. IG everywhere on all social media. I thank him
Yes.
again for being part of it and everything.
Too.
Yeah, and then so here's like his name again, XP the Marksman. So thank you everybody for tuning in for another episode of Nightmare on Sedgwick Avenue.
Peace.
And yeah, peace and everybody take care. Have a happy holidays. If I don't see you guys, this will be my second or third to last episode. So thank you again everybody for the support and have a great rest of your day.